Welcome to Freedom Forest, guys, the 3-acre edible oasis that we're creating here in the south of England, where we like to try lots of new things and push the boundaries with what we can grow using permaculture and no-dig methods. Absolutely no chemicals, weed killers or synthetic fertilisers, just what nature provides. Hi folks, and thanks for joining us. Today we are sharing a beautiful autumn-inspired video that Dan actually filmed here last year, sharing more about our journey towards food self-sufficiency. We really hope that this video gives you some ideas or maybe some inspiration that you can carry forward into your own life and growing experiences. So enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you in the comments.
Storing and preserving food was common practice here just 3 or 4 generations ago. Now in most families, that knowledge has been forgotten. A life of hard toil on the land has been replaced by a life of convenience, as long as you were conveniently born in a globalised country, that is. I feel a strong desire to reconnect with the practices that have ensured the survival of all of our shared ancestors. Nearly all of the common vegetables grown in this part of the world aren't native to here, and luckily there are people in those countries who still remember and practice the traditional techniques of farming. A large part of my life and this channel is going to be dedicated to finding a range of crops that can be grown on a small scale without the requirement for heavy machinery to plant, harvest or process them. The journey is really just beginning, but in this video we'll take a look at some of the things we've been harvesting over the last few weeks. So in our storage shed here we have many of the crops that we're going to be storing for winter use, and you can see along the top here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different varieties of pumpkins, and all of these have slightly different nutritional value as well as uses. And a really interesting one is this one here called spaghetti squash, which when you cook it literally comes out when you run a fork through it like spaghetti. It's really amazing. Down here we have some of our potatoes, and if I take this off, I've just got some kind of blackout material here just to stop them turning green from the sunlight. And we have these longer, shallower crates here. I think they're bread crates that we have different sizes on here. So through the middle we've got jacket potatoes, then kind of medium-sized ones, all the smaller ones here. They're really accessible on these kind of thinner shelves that you can get your hands in. Next to those here, I have some of these crates. You often see these left around everywhere. They're kind of supermarket crates, and we kind of store the rest of the potatoes in there. So when these crates get empty, we can then remove them from these ones into here, just so we can get them easily without having to lift boxes down and go through it all the time. We've also got some plats of garlic, and our sweet potatoes here are on these crates down this end, the different varieties here as well. And another benefit of these long flat trays, not only do they stack and they have good airflow, but it's also easy because of that to see if there's anything rotting, so you can get those out before that spreads to some of its surrounding neighbours as well. And down this end we have more garlic and all different onions here as well. We also have all of our own seed potatoes here that we store, that we can replant next season of all the different varieties, and quite a lot of flour corn as well, which we can store like this and can be ground up into a flour, which makes beautiful porridge as well as many other beautiful dishes. We were out this morning doing one of my absolute favourite things, and it's a really highly anticipated time of year because it's the time of the sweet chestnuts. And sweet chestnuts have been growing on these islands for thousands of years, since the Romans are said to have actually brought them over here. And they're very highly nutritious because they contain high levels of vitamin B, C and minerals like iron, magnesium and zinc. And they've often been called actually a superfood as well. Sweet chestnuts actually contain a similar level of starch to that of wheat and double that of potatoes, so it's no surprise that people of the past used to grind them to make a flour. Believe it or not, the trees can actually live up to 700 years, but they do take a little while to begin initially setting fruit, which can take up to 25 years from when you plant a young tree. Although the good news is, at least here in the south of England, sweet chestnuts are very abundant in the wild. They've naturalised, and so if you can go into the local woods, this time of year at the end of October, the forest floor is completely scattered with them. As life goes on, one of the universal lessons I'm learning is nature does things best when just left to its own devices. And these young trees you can see around me here are sweet chestnuts, and they've slowly been spreading in from the ancient woodland next door over the years. I have had to give them a little helping hand though, because deer, when they're very young, I find, to the vast majority of the seedling trees, come and chew the bark in a ring around them which kills them. So I've put tree protectors around for the first 3 or 4 years, and these have now got to the stage where they're pretty self-sufficient and they're not at risk so much now. And we can just leave these. Maybe I won't be around when they start producing fruit, but that's the beauty of it, that there'll be abundance for coming generations. Now the sweet chestnut season has begun, we'll go out every few days and collect more. We then cut slits in them and add a couple of handfuls to boiling water just for a couple of minutes. This gives you a 3 or 4 minute window to remove the skins really easily, but if you leave it too long, they become very hard to get off again. We then jar them straight up and put them in the freezer, and they're a great source of nutrition all throughout the winter. A crop we wanted to experiment with this year was giant sunflowers. So we grew a bed of these, and each one had massive paddle-like heads on with hundreds of seeds in. The problem was we left them too long before harvesting, when the weather started to get a bit cooler and wetter, and the seed heads unfortunately got mildew and mould, so they went to waste. Our plan was to experiment with ways of extracting the seed from the husk in the most efficient way possible without the need of machinery, and we could store the seeds whole and grind some of them into a flour like many indigenous cultures of the Americas do. So the lesson we've learnt there is to harvest them earlier, and also to brush off the remains of the old flowers, because they're the parts that seem to encourage the mould forming. It wasn't a total loss though, because we used the giant sunflower stems as a support for our beans.
We grow lots of perennial fruits here in our food forest also, like pears and apples and raspberries. The surplus we freeze or dehydrate, and we also make our own apple cider vinegar. I also use the apple cider vinegar to make an amazing medicinal potion called fire cider.
It's now the 21st of October and we still have an absolute ton of tomatoes on these plants here. This is a variety called Reisentrube, which we really highly rate. We used to grow a lot of tomatoes outdoors, or at least try to, and they were reliably knocked back by blight every year before we even got to harvest them. So we now solely only grow our tomatoes inside the tunnels under cover, which alleviates that problem almost entirely actually. They always do succumb to late blight, which is just a natural thing this time of year, but we're still getting so many of these, come in 2 to 3 times a week, and fill up punnets of these, which we love to give to friends and family. I did make the mistake of coming in the other day and putting the watering lines on, and I completely forgot I had done it. So I overwatered, which has caused some of the tomatoes to split now, because ideally this time of year we just want to be giving them a minimal amount just to keep the plants alive, which will help reduce some of the blight symptoms as well as help to ripen off any remaining fruits that we have. They're definitely a variety that keep you on your toes because they vigorously produce side shoots from the end of the branches and kind of every node repeatedly throughout the season. But it's well worth it to kind of manage that as much as we can for the massive yields we have later in the season. Our trombone courgette plants aren't letting us down as well. We've got some absolute whopping ones down here. Some of these are almost a metre long, and we've also got some baby ones still forming right here, which can be used fresh, which makes this such a beautiful multi-purpose plant. All of our normal courgette plants are finished already outdoors, whereas this variety here, you can store them, the ones that you've left to mature, all through the winter, and they still produce fresh new courgettes well into early winter as well. And as for the chilies and peppers, this entire row leading right down to the bottom are completely abundantly covered with them. We've actually grown way too many this year. Last year, the kind of crop failed, so Laurie grew a lot more plants from seed this year. And yeah, we didn't expect them to do so well, and they've thrived in here. So I'm going to come through here now, start collecting some of these. I made the classic schoolboy error as well of kind of alternating planting the different varieties, and I didn't label them properly, and they kind of look similar. So some of them are crazy spicy, some of them are quite mild, so you never know what you're going to get. We've been trialling various varieties of sweet potatoes for the last several years that grow best in this temperate climate. We've had amazing results in the last several years, although this year we had almost a complete crop failure, not due to the potatoes themselves, but rats and rodents getting in there and chewing those. Luckily, we do still have enough to eat for the next few months and to create our slips from the beginning of next season. Squashes and pumpkins are another really important staple for us to provide some of the bulk nutrients throughout the colder months. And we grew a few gardens of those this year, and it was such a beautiful treat to see just the patchwork of different colours of the different fruits all over the floor. And we find each of the different varieties have slightly different qualities as well. Cape gooseberries are fast becoming another one of our favourite seasonal staples, and we always have a bowl of these on the side just to munch on. They've got such a beautiful, fruity but slightly acidic flavour to them. They're in the tomato family. They go really nice, not only chopped up in things like salads, but also on top of cakes as well, believe it or not. And we're also able to freeze these as well, so we can use them throughout the year. We grow 4 or 5 varieties of beans for drying as well. This means we can store them throughout the season. And it's a regular occurrence this time of year as well, once they're dry, for us to sit in the evenings, podding those, and then we put them in jars where they can sit, and then we soak them overnight before we need to use them. Those who we currently allow to have power over us plan to use artificial intelligence on mega farms, fully mechanised, relying on mega agricultural machines, artificial fertilisers and pesticides to produce uniform crops, single varieties, bred for shelf life rather than nutritional value, most of which will be modified so they can be sprayed directly with weed killer and survive, killing the naturally occurring flora and fauna around them as well as the soil life itself. It's easy to feel like, as an individual, you have no power to make a change. But the truth is, no business can succeed without customers. And most of us, if we're lucky, eat 3 times a day. So we have the power, with the things we consume, to vote for the type of future we would like to see. It would be impractical to expect everyone to become subsistence farmers. Of course, in this time we need many other professions. But reconnecting with the great spirit of nature through plants, trees, and the beautiful cycle and healing qualities of non-processed food is a great place to start. If you've enjoyed this video, please help the channel grow by pressing the like button, subscribing, and dropping me a comment below. Love to you all, and I'll catch you again soon.